Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Apostate of Mind. I'm Mark Peralta, and today I give you the greatest miracle in the Bible, the greatest the Bible. You're going to see.
What's the greatest miracle in the Bible? No, it's not the resurrection. The greatest miracle in the Bible is the first verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. If that verse is true, every other verse is at least possible.
If that verse is true, and that's really the question. That's the problem. That's the thing that you still have not been able to demonstrate. So in actuality, why should I care listening more? Let's see.
Here's the interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen. Even atheists are admitting the data for the first verse. They're admitting that space, time, and matter had a beginning out of nothing. Now,
what? Who's admitting what? And what does an atheist have anything to do with it? Because really, that's a question of cosmology. There are scientists who dedicate or specialize in this area. And honestly, I think that you're mistaken. The general view is that we don't really know if there was a beginning. What we have is a lot of misconception about the Big Bang, but certainly scientists or even atheists are not saying what you're saying.
they don't think it's God, but what else could it be if space, time, and matter had a beginning out of nothing? Whatever created space, time, and matter can't be made of space, time, and matter. In other words, the cause must be spaceless, timeless, immaterial.
Okay, so here's where the rabbit trail begins, because now he's working under the assumption that the first premise that he gave us, which was in the beginning, God created the world, which poses two issues. Number one, there is no evidence that there was actually a beginning, and that's the stuff of debates. Number two, the fact that a God exists is still to be demonstrated. Number three, even if there was a God that exists, there is no evidence that a God actually created the universe. That is the Genesis claim. So now he's just going to take you down on this slippery slope of arguments that are going to lead you to Jesus. I'm only assuming, but let's see.
Real, powerful to create the universe out of nothing, personal in order to choose to create, and also intelligent to have a mind to make a choice. Now, when you think about a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, powerful, personal, intelligent cause, who do you think?
Of course, right. That's so you've now done what's called the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, where you've created this very special thing that has these sort of filling the blanks. And now you've created an entity that is able to fill in the blanks, not by way of actual evidence, but just by definition. So well done, Mr. Apologist. What else you got?
Of God. You say, Frank, how do you know it's the Christian God? We don't.
Yeah, that's right. You don't know. But okay, continue.
Yet. But if we continue doing research, we're going to realize that the same being that walked out of the tomb 1,989 years ago is the same being whose divine nature created the universe out of nothing.
Wow, well, that's another huge one. So not only are we assuming that the resurrection actually took place, but how in the world are we supposed to sort of like investigate whether or not it was the same being? Like, what kind of evidence would constitute as something that you, Frank Turek, would take into consideration and then deduce that somehow that's actually the case? Like, first of all, we don't have any evidence of this empty tomb. We don't know where it is. And even if the tomb is found, well, what evidence of resurrection would that be? A lot of assumptions have to be made at this point, Frank.
Jesus of Nazareth, actually in his divine nature, created the universe out of nothing. So if
well, there's another one too. Like, even if there was a Jesus that existed, and I have no reason to doubt that there perhaps was a Jesus of Nazareth, but even if that were the case, we really don't have any evidence of him being divine. What really is divine outside of the Bible? How do you know like what something divine would be? Like, what kind of evidence could there be? Flying, walking through walls? Like, okay, we gotta demonstrate all that. Where's the evidence? There is none. So don't invent things, Frank.
Genesis 1:1 is true, and even atheists are admitting the evidence for Genesis 1:1.
No,
every other verse is believable. Resurrection.
And not necessarily. Just because one thing is true about the Bible does not mean that everything else consequently thereafter on the page is also true. Every claim bears its own burden.
parting Red Seas, turning water into wine. Easy for a God who created the universe out of nothing.
No evidence of that either. No evidence of the exile. Nothing that would constitute as anything that we would be able to like appreciate as like, okay, maybe that actually happened. Maybe there are some things, but definitely not the Exodus.
You know what's harder to believe, ladies and gentlemen? For atheism to be true, every single
atheism to be true is not a thing. Atheism is not a belief. It's not a religion. It's not even an ideology. All it is the rejection of the God claim. That's it. It's not something that you could like turn into a religion. Again, that definitely is a straw man, because you're just creating this thing that you want to reject on the same basis that you know your own religion ought to be rejected for. It's not a belief.
Miracle claim and spiritual experience in the history of the world has to be mistaken.
Yeah, but that's another issue too, because like any and all religions claim miracles as corroboration of their truth claims. And so that doesn't help you, Frank, because then how do you distinguish between one religion or the other? Like, why are you not preaching the message of Muhammad? Why are you not preaching the Bhagavad Gita? Like, why Christianity? You can't single it out. You cannot, on that basis, you just can't.
Is that possible? Yeah, that's possible. Is it reasonable to believe? I don't think so. It takes a lot more faith to believe that everybody throughout history has been mistaken about the spiritual realm and
really? Like, so what would you say of the Egyptians that existed as an empire for well over 4,000 years, having their own types of beliefs? Like, isn't that the case for them? Like, why couldn't that be the same for Christians or Muslims or Mormons today?
Believing that atheism is true is the truth, than to say, no.
Atheism cannot be true in that sense, Frank. It is the rejection of what you're claiming to be a truth, not a truth in itself. Although we may be right in that sense, but that's not, you're just twisting it. You're playing semantics.
Oh, there is a spiritual realm. God created it, and God intervenes in it when he needs to.
That's the other one. Where is your spiritual realm? Where's the evidence of this place? There is none. Okay, well, there you have it, folks. Frank Turek. Until next time, this has been Apostate of Mind.